There is a reason most men live in quiet frustration, a reason they walk the earth with eyes that no longer burn, with postures that no longer reach upward, with voices that hesitate when they should declare. It is not because they are unintelligent. It is not because they lack talent or opportunity. It is because they have permitted themselves to carry habits, mental parasites that drain them of their birthright to command, to build, to lead, to become. And let us not confuse wealth with gold alone. Wealth is capacity, capacity to create, capacity to choose, capacity to walk unchained from fear, undistracted by noise, unmoved by the weakness of the crowd. Wealth is power harnessed in principle. And poverty is not simply the lack of money, it is the chronic failure to govern one's own mind. Now hear this truth and do not flinch. You were born rich in potential. You were born to be great. But if you do not strip away the habits that bind your will, that greatness will rot within you. You will become another relic of what could have been a monument to hesitation, a cautionary tale whispered by those who remember what you once aspired to be. So I have come not to comfort you, but to awaken you, to show you without apology or indulgence the 10 habits that are killing your wealth, sabotaging your discipline, and hijacking your future. These are not small things. They are spiritual cancers, and if you do not remove them, they will rule you until your final breath. But if you do remove them, if you cut them out with fire and conviction, then your mind will become sharp, your spirit clear, your life unstoppable. Let us begin. 1. Seeking emotional validation before results. This is the most seductive of all traps, the habit of seeking to feel good before you do what must be done. The modern man has been poisoned by the idea that unless he is in the mood, he cannot act. But the wealth-minded man reverses this entirely. He does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" He commands, "What must be done?" and then acts. His emotion is irrelevant. If you wait to feel confident, you will never begin. If you wait to feel brave, you will never speak. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait until the day you die. Detach from the need to feel right and align with what is necessary. Emotion is not a compass, it is a fog. If you obey it, you will drift. If you master it, you will arrive. 2. Mistaking motion for progress. The second wealth killer is the habit of mistaking activity for achievement. The poor man is always busy. He is checking, clicking, responding, multitasking. He ends the day exhausted but empty. Why? Because he confuses movement with momentum. The wealth-minded man is precise. He does not waste energy. Every action is filtered through purpose. He understands that doing 100 things without intention is failure disguised as work. You must break the addiction to busyness. You must stop filling your day with noise and start building your life with deliberate thought. Ask this question of every action. Is this aligned with my definite chief aim? If not, it is waste, no matter how good it feels. 3. Worshipping comfort over growth. If you make comfort your god, poverty will be your master. The man addicted to comfort sleeps when he should rise, scrolls when he should write, eats when he should fast, speaks when he should listen. He seeks the path of least resistance and is surprised when he arrives at mediocrity. Growth demands friction. Discipline requires heat. Success is born in the furnace of discomfort. Do you want power? Then earn it in the hour when no one watches, when comfort calls and you refuse to answer. Every time you deny yourself a temporary pleasure for a long-term vision, you do not weaken, you forge. Wealth is not about accumulating things, it is about becoming the kind of man who can command reality. And that man is never built in comfort. 4. Reacting instead of responding. The emotionally undisciplined man is a puppet. His strings are pulled by offense, triggered by delay, hijacked by insults. He is reactive, he is explosive, he is unstable, and he forfeits his power daily. You must learn this. The wealth-minded man responds, not reacts. He trains his emotions like a soldier trains his weapon, not for show, but for control. When insulted, he remains composed. When surprised, he becomes still. When the world pushes him, he does not stumble, he plants. Why? Because power is not in the noise, it is in the pause, in the gap between trigger and choice, and he who owns that gap owns his life. Woo. Avoiding silence and self-examination. The man who cannot sit alone with his own thoughts will always be a slave to distraction. Modern poverty begins with mental noise. The moment a man feels discomfort, he reaches not for truth but for stimulation. He floods his mind with music, news, gossip, alerts, opinions, anything but silence. Why? Because silence demands truth, and truth demands change. But wealth, real wealth, is built in silence. It is born in the morning when the room is still, and the man faces himself, his fears, his lies, his potential, and chooses not escape, but elevation. Sit with yourself. Ask, what am I avoiding? What must I confront? What must I eliminate? Silence is not emptiness. It is the laboratory of greatness. 6. Confusing excuses with reasons. The sixth wealth killer wears the mask of logic. It cloaks itself in rational explanation, speaks with conviction, and pretends to be truth. But do not be deceived. These are not reasons, they are excuses dressed in the uniform of intelligence. The man who says, I would, but I'm too busy. I can't because I'm not ready. I will when things calm down. This man is building a fortress of failure, one brick of justification at a time. Understand this. Every excuse, no matter how sophisticated, is a declaration that your comfort is worth more than your destiny. The man of wealth does not excuse, he adjusts. He does not explain delay, he eradicates it. He sees every obstacle not as a stop sign, but as a summons to evolve. You must kill this habit before it becomes your identity, because every excuse repeated becomes a belief, and every belief followed becomes a cage. Burn your excuses. Let your results speak. 7. Needing approval to move. The man addicted to approval is owned by the crowd. He fears rejection more than failure, so he never dares. He waters down his message. He delays his launch. He hides his truth. And so he lives a life of imitation, half steps, soft words, muted brilliance. This man will never be wealthy, because wealth is not granted by the crowd, it is seized by the individual. You must decide. Do you want applause or do you want power? The wealth-minded man moves alone if necessary. He walks against the grain. He chooses principle over popularity, and eventually, once the dust clears, the world follows. You cannot lead if you are addicted to being liked. You cannot create if you need permission, and you cannot rise if your loyalty lies with comfort more than truth. Act, speak, build, not for praise but from principle. The world's approval is a shadow. Yours is the only light that matters. 8. Consuming more than creating. Every day you wake up with a fixed reservoir of focus. What you do with it determines your trajectory. The poor man consumes news, feeds, shows, endless streams of noise. He becomes a library of opinions but creates nothing of substance. He knows what everyone else thinks but never discovers what he believes. He becomes full and yet hollow. But the wealthy man, he creates, he writes, he builds, he records, he publishes, he teaches. He makes something real from the raw material of thought. And by doing so, he develops the most valuable asset in the world, leverage. You must stop being a receptacle for other people's agendas. You were not born to be a spectator. You were born to be a force. Do not start your day by consuming the world. Start it by commanding it. Ask, what will I build today? What will I make real? What will I create that will outlast me? And then do it. 9. Living without a definite chief aim. This is not just a habit. This is the root of all wealth or poverty. If you do not know exactly what you want by when and why you are not living, you are wandering. A man without a definite chief aim is a ship with no rudder, a spark with no flame, a day with no sunrise. He is pulled in every direction. He responds to life, but never commands it. Do you want wealth? Then define it. Put it in ink. Attach it to a number, a date, a purpose, a reason that sets your blood on fire. Say, I will earn $1 million by exact date, by delivering specific service value in alignment with my highest principles. Say it, repeat it, obsess over it. Align every thought, every action, every habit with that aim. This is the secret behind every empire, every builder, every legacy. Clarity is the birthplace of wealth. Indecision is the graveyard of potential. Choose. 10. Letting the mind run wild without discipline. Here is the final and most dangerous habit, permitting the mind to wander without a leash. Your thoughts are not harmless, they are seeds. And every time you entertain fear, self-pity, comparison, anxiety, and defeat, you are watering weeds. The undisciplined mind is a traitor. It whispers your failures. It relives your mistakes. It imagines disaster and rehearses powerlessness, and you let it. But the man of wealth, he disciplines his thoughts with the same precision a warrior sharpens his blade. He does not merely think positive, he thinks accurately. He thinks deliberately. He filters every thought through truth, principle, and possibility. He does not allow his mind to pull him into memory unless it serves mastery. He does not allow imagination unless it serves his mission. Your mind is your kingdom or your cage, and you are either its ruler or its prisoner, doubly. And now, the truth stands before you naked, unflinching. 10 habits, 10 forces of decay, 10 subtle assassins of wealth, power, and purpose. But you now have eyes to see. So the only question left is this. What will you do? Will you nod, agree, highlight, and forget? Or will you wage war on everything inside you that's been killing your destiny? Because that's what it will take. This is not self-help. This is self-governance. This is not a motivational pep talk. This is a declaration of independence from your own weakness. You must wake up tomorrow and become ruthless about what enters your mind. You must become merciless toward the behaviors that rob you of focus. You must become militant in your commitment to structure, thought discipline, and emotional detachment. Only then will the doors of wealth open, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, energetically. Because wealth is not something you chase. It is something you command. And to command it, you must first command yourself. Start now. The law of mental control. There is no external condition more powerful than the man who has achieved internal dominion. And there is no greater illusion than believing the outer world must change for your life to improve. If you cannot control your thoughts, you will be controlled by your emotions. And if you are controlled by emotion, you will live like a leaf in the wind, tossed by every offense, every delay, every challenge. Mental control is not suppression. It is command. It is not ignoring problems. It is placing them within context. It is not denying fear. It is overruling it with vision. A rich man does not allow every thought to enter. He guards his mental gates with the vigilance of a soldier. He allows in only what serves, what strengthens, what aligns with purpose. You must do the same. You must wake each morning and check the quality of your thoughts as one would check the cleanliness of his water. Because the poison of one unchecked thought can seep into every room of your life. Do not wait for calm, create it. Do not hope for clarity, install it. Do not react, respond. The wealth you seek will only rise to the level of the clarity you cultivate within. The principle of inner stillness. The masses confuse movement with momentum. They believe noise equals progress. But understand this, stillness is not the absence of action. It is the refinement of it. A man who cannot sit in silence is a man who cannot think. And a man who cannot think is a man who cannot lead not others, not his family, not even himself. Stillness is where clarity is born. It is in stillness that the leader hears the voice of higher truth. It is in stillness that the builder sees the blueprint. It is in stillness that the warrior prepares his inner terrain. And yet, what do most men do when silence enters the room? They run. They reach for distraction. They scroll, binge, click, consume. Why? Because silence holds up a mirror, and they are afraid of what it shows. But you are not afraid. You are ready. So begin your mornings not with chaos, but with calm. Sit, breathe. Listen not to the noise of the world, but to the signal of the self. The man who trains himself to be still in the morning will walk with force all day. Stillness is not weakness. It is preparation for war. The chain of cause and effect. Everything you experience is the direct result of something you permitted, produced, or neglected. There is no exception. Not in your finances, not in your health, not in your relationships, not in your energy. All of it cause and effect. And yet, how many blame the effect while protecting the cause? They say, I'm broke, but refuse to track their spending. They say, I'm stuck, but scroll for hours a day. They say, I can't focus, but fill their mind with noise, news, and notifications. This is not misfortune, it is math. Do you want to change your income? Change your inputs. Do you want to change your confidence? Change your preparation. Do you want to change your life? Change your cause. Track what you do every day, not as punishment, but as responsibility. The rich man knows that the universe is always responding, not to what he says, but to what he does consistently. Your results are not a mystery. They are the receipt of your habits. If you don't like the result, don't complain, correct the formula. The power of emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is not a lack of feeling. It is the refusal to be ruled by them. A man of discipline feels emotion, but he does not obey it. He may feel fear, but he acts anyway. He may feel anger, but he responds with logic. He may feel shame, but he proceeds with integrity. This is the posture of power, to feel deeply and yet remain steady, to care but not cling, to lead but not be led by inner chaos. Most men chase emotional highs. They wait to feel ready. They delay until the vibe is right. This is spiritual immaturity. You must cut this pattern at the root. You must tell yourself, my feelings do not determine my future. My decisions do. And the more often you act from discipline over emotion, the more stable your identity becomes, until eventually the chaos fades, the storm settles, and you become a man the world cannot move. That man is dangerous not to others, but to weakness itself. The law of identity congruence. Man will never consistently act in a way that contradicts who he believes he is. So, if you see yourself as poor, scattered, reactive, unsure, then no tactic will save you, because you will always return to the level of identity you protect. The secret is not to change your actions first. It is to rewrite who you are. I am a man of structure. I do not react, I respond. I move in silence and execute with precision. I create wealth through clarity and discipline. I am the architect, not the victim of my life. You must speak these truths not once but daily. You must affirm them until your nervous system no longer doubts them, until your subconscious no longer resists them, until your environment is forced to reflect them. Identity is not found. It is forged. And the forging happens in repetition, ritual reflection, realignment. Every time you act from that higher identity, you strengthen the bridge from who you were to who you were born to be. And eventually, inevitably, your life catches up. The law of personal initiative. There is a force more powerful than intelligence, more decisive than talent, more valuable than opportunity. It is the quiet, consistent fire known as personal initiative. The man who waits to be told what to do will always be poor, not because he lacks ability, but because he has forfeited leadership of the self. You must become the one who begins. Do not wait for the right conditions, create them. Do not wait for motivation, install structure. Do not wait for permission, declare your direction. Personal initiative means you act when others pause. You decide while others hesitate. You create while others consume. You build while others talk about building. This is how wealth is made, not in a flash of genius, but in 1,000 acts of initiative when the world was still sleeping. Every great builder, every industrialist, creator, philosopher, strategist, was not the most talented. He was simply the one who moved first and moved consistently. When you begin living with initiative, you no longer wait for the world to present opportunity. You force opportunity to show its face. The law of accurate thinking. The undisciplined mind is emotional. It misreads threats, exaggerates failures, and dramatizes trivial problems. But the man who trains himself to think accurately lives on a different plane. He is not the slave of headlines. He is not seduced by gossip. He does not mistake fear for fact. He separates truth from assumption. He separates feedback from insult. He separates delay from defeat. The wealth-minded man does not ask, how do I feel? He asks, what is true? What is useful? What is aligned with principle? And then he acts calmly, strategically, without panic. If you wish to rise above the noise, train your mind in accuracy. Question every belief, audit every assumption, Demand evidence from your thoughts as a judge demands evidence from a witness. You must become ruthless in thought, even as you remain generous in spirit. Because confusion is not a flaw, it is a consequence. A consequence of lazy thinking, emotional bias, and mental chaos. But clarity is earned, and the man who thinks with precision moves with power. The law of daily structure. All success is scaffolding. There is no exception. The man who leaves his day to chance is building his future on sand. Structure is not restriction. It is liberation. It is not rigidity. It is rhythm. The undisciplined man fears structure because he believes freedom is inflexibility. But the opposite is true. The man without a plan becomes a slave to urgency, emotion, and distraction. The man with structure, however, becomes free within form. His clarity increases, his execution sharpens, his confidence grows, and most importantly, his results compound. Create a rhythm that reflects your highest priorities. Wake early, before the world speaks. Sit in silence and sharpen thought. Affirm your identity until it becomes reality. Plan your actions before emotion decides them. Move your body. Train your discipline. Work in focused blocks, undisturbed by chaos. End the day by reflecting, adjusting, and refining. Do this not once, but daily. Do not improvise your destiny. Design it hour by hour, breath by breath. For the world will offer you disorder. It will offer urgency. It will offer you 1,000 tiny fires to extinguish. But you must choose order. You must choose structure. You must choose to be governed from within, because that is where real freedom lives. The law of energetic containment. Most men leak energy. They give it away through gossip, drama, argument, resentment, emotional reactivity. They spend their most vital fuel fighting battles that do not matter because they have not learned to contain themselves. But the wealthy man, the man who builds legacies, he is sealed. He speaks when necessary. He moves with intention. He does not explain to those committed to misunderstanding. He does not indulge what weakens him, even if it tempts him. He knows that every interaction is a transaction. Every word spoken either invests in his vision or spends from it. Every distraction entertained either builds his focus or robs from it. To become this man, you must stop bleeding energy. Withdraw from the trivial. Withdraw from digital noise. Withdraw from the endless pursuit of being seen. Contain your energy, refine your frequency, and direct your fire only into what expands your dominion. Because scattered energy is powerless, but contained energy, it is nuclear. Now you know. No longer can you claim ignorance. No longer can you pretend the problem is out there. No longer can you blame, delay, justify, or hope your way out of discipline. You are now accountable to truth. You have seen the mechanics of your own sabotage. You have been shown the habits that poison wealth. You have been handed the principles that rule reality. And you have been given what most men never receive, a mirror clear enough to see yourself fully. So now comes the final test, not of intellect, but of integrity. Will you go back to the same patterns tomorrow? Will you return to comfort with a few notes and a flash of inspiration? Will you speak of greatness while still dining with your vices? Or will you do what only the few do? Will you rise tomorrow as a new architect? One who no longer waits, but builds. One who no longer hopes, but chooses. One who no longer reacts, but rules. Because the truth is this: you were never lacking. You were leaking. Leaking clarity through distraction. Leaking power through emotion. Leaking time through indecision. Leaking purpose through permission seeking. And now that you have seen it, you can seal it. You can walk in calmness, not because the world is quiet, but because you are. You can walk in focus, not because life is simple, but because you are clear. You can walk in wealth, not because you won the lottery, but because you won the war within. Let the world marvel. Let them ask what changed. Let them wonder what new secret you found. But you will know the truth. You didn't find anything. You removed everything that never belonged. The noise, the weakness, the apology, the self-doubt, the inconsistency, the excuses, the indulgence. You killed it all in silence, in structure, in self-command. You rewrote your destiny by rebuilding your mornings, your thoughts, your identity. You became a man of precision, of presence, of purpose, and now you are unstoppable. So what do you do now? You rise. You rise tomorrow, not like a man in a daze, but like a general preparing for victory. You rise with intention. You rise with conviction. You rise with fire behind your calm and thunder behind your silence. And you build brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision, until your results no longer need your voice because they speak for themselves. And when that day comes, when your bank account reflects your clarity, when your posture reflects your purpose, when your energy no longer bows to anything lower than truth, when your name is mentioned in rooms you've never entered because your discipline echoes louder than your marketing ever could, you'll smile, not in pride, but in recognition, because you will finally have met the man you were always meant to become, and he will look at you and say, "Welcome back. Now go. The world is not waiting, but your power is. Command it, now, forever." Because if you truly wish to eradicate these habits, you must understand why they exist in the first place. No man wakes up and says, "I choose to be weak." No man sets out to sabotage his own future, but many most still do. Why? Because habits are not just behaviors. They are the survival responses of an outdated identity. You overthink because once hesitation kept you safe. You seek approval because once rejection hurt more than truth. You procrastinate because at some point taking action led to pain, and your nervous system filed it under danger. You seek comfort because once discomfort brought real threat. You numb with noise because silence once showed you something you weren't ready to see. These wealth-killing habits, they are not flaws. They are unconscious strategies for avoiding pain. But the pain they protect you from is the very pain that would set you free. The pain of growth. The pain of separation from the crowd, from the familiar, from the old version of yourself. The pain of confronting the distance between what you do and what you're capable of doing. So now let this sink in, not as a concept, but as a mirror. Every habit that is killing your wealth is rooted in fear. And every fear you carry has become part of your identity. That is why change is difficult, not because the behavior is hard to shift, but because it threatens your story. And people will defend their story even if that story is destroying them. But you are not most people. You are here to become something rare. You are here to become dangerously free. Free from emotional slavery. Free from external validation. Free from identity traps. And so, I must warn you, if you truly walk this path, something will die. The old self will scream. The old mind will panic. The ego will bargain. Your nervous system will rebel. The weak voices within will say, "You're going too far. Don't be so extreme. You're fine just the way you are." But you must answer with silence and action. Because on the other side of that death is rebirth. A man who does not need anything from anyone to move forward. A man whose habits are sacred, not compulsive. A man whose thoughts are designed, not inherited. A man who is not just getting better, but operating from a new dimension entirely. Let me now bring you into that dimension. Not motivational fluff, not casual encouragement, but a psychological strike against everything inside you that still submits to weakness. Detachment is power, not coldness. You've been told detachment makes you cold, that if you detach, you'll become heartless, that to feel deeply is to be alive and to be analytical is to be disconnected. But that is a lie told by emotional slaves. Real detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the separation between feeling and decision. The emotionally entangled man feels, then acts. The emotionally detached man feels, then chooses. He can feel love but still walk away from those who violate his values. He can feel fear but still invest in his vision. He can feel anger but still speak with precision. He can feel doubt but still execute like a man possessed. Why? Because his inner world has a hierarchy, and in that hierarchy principle outranks emotion. This is the key to your freedom. Detach not from life, but from reaction. Detach not from people, but from the need to be understood. Detach not from your goals, but from the outcome. When you detach, you are no longer pulled. You pull. You lead. You govern. That is power. Discipline is love in action. The undisciplined man sees discipline as punishment, a harsh voice, a cruel structure, an imposition. But the disciplined man sees it as the highest form of self-respect. Discipline is not restriction. It is devotion. It is the way you show your future self that you care. Every act of discipline says you are worth showing up for. Every delayed indulgence says your vision matters more than your craving. Every structured morning says, I will not abandon you even when it's hard. And eventually, discipline becomes love in motion, not loud, not glamorous, but unshakable. And that's why the disciplined man walks differently. He does not need applause. He does not need fire in his chest. He does not need motivation because he has something better, integrity. And integrity moves even when the body is tired, even when the mood is low, even when the voice of doubt whispers softly. Because when discipline takes root, mood no longer matters. And when mood no longer rules, the man is free. The self-image, your internal ceiling. No man can outperform the image he holds of himself, not for long. If you see yourself as a hustler, you will hustle endlessly. If you see yourself as trying to make it, you will try and never quite arrive. If you see yourself as undisciplined, chaotic, easily triggered, you will recreate chaos no matter how much strategy you learn. Why? Because your self-image is the thermostat of your life, and a thermostat does not respond to goals. It responds to identity. If you earn more money than your self-image can hold, you will sabotage. If you get fit, but still believe you are weak, you will regress. If you start winning but still see yourself as the underdog, you will find a way to lose. So the question is not, what do I want to achieve? The question is, who must I become for that achievement to be natural? See yourself as calm and your nervous system will begin to obey. See yourself as sovereign and your boundaries will reinforce themselves. See yourself as already worthy and the need to seek vanishes. But this cannot be casual. It cannot be positive thinking. This must become ritual. Every morning, write the man you are becoming in the present tense. Speak him aloud. Write your standard. Reject every thought, every behavior, every posture that contradicts it. Not because you're lying, but because you're reprogramming. You are not changing yourself. You are returning to your true self beneath the layers of noise and fear. And as this image becomes your default, so too will your results. The mental script, rewiring your internal language. Every day, every hour, you are narrating your life to yourself. And this narration is not neutral. It is either the language of a king or of a victim. Most men do not realize they are speaking affirmations all day long. I'm overwhelmed. I can't focus. And I always mess this up. This isn't working. I don't know if I can. They think they're being realistic. But they are actually performing hypnosis on themselves. And every repetition deepens the program. You must become aware of this. You must listen to yourself with the precision of a strategist. You must hear your language and interrupt it with truth. Say, I do not speak in limitation. I train focus daily. I act regardless of emotion. I move with calm under pressure. Oh, I speak from identity, not insecurity. And when old thoughts return, don't argue, don't panic, just override. You are not your thoughts. You are the programmer of your mind. And the man who understands this no longer needs willpower. Because once the script changes, the behavior changes automatically. You want to change your life? Change the words you repeat when no one is listening. The illusion of time. Stop waiting for the right moment. There is no more destructive belief than the lie that you need more time. Time is not your friend. Time is not neutral. Time is your enemy if you remain passive. And your excuses? They are wrapped in the language of delay. I'll start when I have more clarity. I just need a little more energy. I'll go all in after this next season. I'm preparing. I'm building up to it. Number. What you are doing is protecting the comfort of staying the same. You are bowing to the illusion that life will one day make it easier to transform. But life doesn't get easier. You get sharper. You get stronger. You get more precise. Or you get left behind. Every time you say later, you are reinforcing the idea that your vision is negotiable. And let me speak this into your soul. Your vision is not negotiable. Your discipline is not optional. Your sovereignty is not something you schedule when you feel ready. You are not waiting for clarity. Clarity is waiting for your decision. You are not waiting for motivation. Motivation is a reward for taking action. You are not waiting for permission. You are the authority. So what must you do? Move. Now, not recklessly, not emotionally, but with identity, with strategy, with internal command, because if you don't do it now, you won't do it later. Later becomes never, and never becomes regret, and regret becomes the quiet prison where dreams rot. You have one timeline. You have one standard. You have one shot to live in full alignment. And if you are still breathing, it is not too late. But if you continue waiting, you will miss the life that was meant to be yours. The soul is sovereign. Do not betray it for approval. There is something within you that knows. It knows when you're off. It knows when you're hiding. It knows when your words are clean, but your motives are corrupt. It knows when you pretend to be driven, but are actually afraid. You can lie to the world, but you cannot lie to your soul. And the man who lives in betrayal of his soul, he will never have peace, no matter how much he achieves. Why? Because the soul was not designed for performance. It was designed for alignment. And every time you trade your knowing for applause, every time you abandon your standard to fit in, every time you silence your conscience in the name of short-term gain, you fracture your center. And that fracture becomes chaos. And that chaos becomes anxiety. And that anxiety becomes weakness. And weakness kills wealth. But the man who honors his soul, he speaks with weight. He builds with depth. He moves with a sense of rightness that needs no defense. He does not need to be loud because his energy is undeniable. He does not need to rush because his foundation is unshakable. He knows who he is. He walks with conviction. And he is immune to trends, panic, manipulation, and fear. That man, he is rare, but he is you if you stop betraying your own voice. Sacrifice is the price of power. There is a reason the weak will never taste true sovereignty, because they are unwilling to pay the price. And the price is not money. It is not suffering. It is not luck. The price is sacrifice. You want discipline? Sacrifice comfort. You want clarity? Sacrifice stimulation. You want legacy? Sacrifice distraction. You want peace? Sacrifice noise. You want power? Sacrifice needing to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You cannot have both high performance and high indulgence. You cannot serve both truth and approval. You cannot master both your destiny and your emotions at the same time. Something must die, and you must decide what that will be. Your future or your weakness, because there is no path where both survive. Sacrifice is not loss, it is refinement. It is not deprivation, it is reclamation. Every sacrifice made in alignment with your highest standard returns to you 1,000-fold in clarity, energy, intuition, timing, and wealth. But the man who refuses to sacrifice, he spends his life exhausted trying to hold on to everything. And in the end, he loses everything that ever mattered. Longevity over glory. Build for 50 years, not 5 minutes. Now let us speak of something most will never understand. The long game. The infinite view. The one that sees beyond dopamine, beyond quarterly metrics, beyond applause and virality. Because true wealth is not built in noise. It is built in silence, repetition, and endurance. The masses want success fast, but fast is not the standard. Forever is. Build not for attention, but for impact. Build not for trends, but for truth. Build not for today, but for the man you will be in 50 years. Most are addicted to speed, and so they burn out. They sprint for 10 days, then collapse for 10 months. They launch fast, sell loud, vanish quietly. But not you. You build with precision. You install your habits like steel. You fortify your mind like a fortress. You train your nervous system like a warrior who must stay ready for decades. That's what real power is. Sustained fire, quiet excellence, silent pressure applied over time until the world shifts around your presence. And that presence, it is earned in repetition, in boredom, in daily commitment, when no one claps. But one day, when your name is spoken with respect, when your words carry weight in rooms you've never walked into, when your decisions ripple through generations you'll never meet, you'll know it was worth every sacrifice, every early morning, every late night, every no to the world, so you could say yes to your destiny. Energetic sovereignty, the unspoken authority. There is a kind of wealth that doesn't need introduction. It doesn't show off. It doesn't explain. It doesn't chase. It walks in, and the room rearranges itself, not because of status, not because of fame, but because of energetic command. That is the rarest wealth of all, the kind that cannot be measured but can be felt. You've met men like this. You've seen them. You've felt them. They say little. They do not perform, but their very presence radiates. I know who I am. I move on principle. I do not rush. I do not beg. I do not react. I do not need, but I choose. That kind of presence is not luck. It is the byproduct of inner work most men refuse to do. Energetic sovereignty means you are no longer fragmented. Your mind, your emotions, your instincts, your actions, they all move in the same direction. No leaks, no panic, no seeking. When a man reaches this level, people follow him without knowing why. Deals close without forcing. Enemies retreat without a fight. And opportunities seem to find him because he has become the kind of man opportunity recognizes. But to live here, to live at this frequency, you must become a fortress of alignment. No more bending to people-pleasing. No more entertaining what you've outgrown. No more negotiating with mediocrity. You must become surgical with your energy. If a thought drains you, delete it. If a habit lowers, you replace it. If a voice in your life doesn't respect your standard, remove it. Not emotionally, not reactively, just quietly. Because kings don't argue, they decide. Masculine composure, presence over panic. A wealthy man is not the one with the most resources. He is the one who can remain composed when others collapse. Masculine energy, true, grounded, conscious masculine energy is not loud. It is still. It is a tree in a hurricane. It is the calm in the negotiation. It is the silence between decisions. It is the refusal to be moved by anything less than truth. Most men today are hyperstimulated, emotionally explosive, spiritually scattered. They react to every message. They explain every decision. They chase every conflict. They collapse under every wave of uncertainty. That is not strength. That is leakage. But the man who trains composure, he becomes dangerous in the best sense of the word. He trains his nervous system to remain clear. He trains his body to remain anchored. He trains his attention to remain present. He trains his tone to remain calculated. And by doing so, he becomes the one people look to when the building is burning. Because people follow the calm, not the noise. And you, if you choose to, can become that man. Not by accident, not by image, but by mastering stillness under fire. That stillness is trained in quiet, in structure, in decision, in breath, in letting your emotions scream and choosing not to move until you say it's time. That is masculine wealth. Self-scripting, the ritual of reprogramming identity. You are not merely a man, you are a system of language. What you repeat becomes real. And every day you are running a program, an identity script that either builds your empire or erodes it. If your internal language is, I always get distracted, I just need more time, I can't handle pressure, I don't know what I'm doing, then understand no amount of hustle will save you. Because your subconscious will sabotage anything that doesn't match your identity script. So how do you fix this? You rewrite the script, not once, daily. You speak your new identity into your cells, into your tone, into your movements. You say, I am a man of clear focus. I operate in calm under pressure. I trust my decisions and move with precision. I do not need approval. I govern myself. I finish what I start. I earn, I build, I lead, I multiply. At first, it may feel like a lie. That's because you've been living the old script for so long, you forgot that it was never yours to begin with. But if you repeat your new identity long enough with clarity, with tone, with emotional precision, it replaces the old one. And soon your habits change. Your posture changes. Your energy changes. Your wealth changes. Because you changed. Not randomly, not spiritually bypassed, but intentionally, surgically, systematically. That is what this path requires. Radical authorship of your own narrative. You do not wait for life to give you an identity. You speak it, script it, and live it until the world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. You have walked through every chamber, from emotional detachment to discipline, from energetic sovereignty to accurate thinking, from identity reprogramming to the restructuring of time itself. Now we bring it all together, not in theory, but in a code. Because every man who builds wealth that lasts not just materially, but spiritually, energetically, and generationally lives by a code. This is your moment to install that code. Let it be sacred. Let it be non-negotiable. Let it echo in your bones until the world learns to respect your presence before you even speak. The code of inner wealth: I do not react. I respond. I observe. I decide. I wake early not for vanity, but for command. I speak my identity not for the world, but to remind my soul who I truly am. I move with structure not because I am rigid, but because I respect the rhythm of greatness. I delay pleasure not to suffer, but to earn the fire of satisfaction earned, not stolen. I create in silence. I lead without needing to be followed. I think with precision. I feel, but I am not ruled. I do not explain to the mediocre what the disciplined cannot yet understand. I choose discomfort over stagnation, focus over stimulation, purpose over distraction. I take radical responsibility for my energy, my income, my integrity, and my impact. I never speak weakness into my life, even as I face it. I speak strength through it. I am the cause, never the effect. I am the author, never the actor. I am the center of the storm, not the debris it carries. And when fear arises, I do not flee. I lean in, because I know everything I want, everything I am destined to build, everything I am designed to become sits on the other side of the habits I kill, the truths I accept, and the identity I install daily. The daily invocation to speak before the world wakes. Say it out loud from the diaphragm without apology every single morning before the world can program you. Let it echo until the script is no longer something you say, but something you are. I command my mind. I direct my thoughts. I guard my energy. I decide how I show up. I walk as a man governed by principle, not by emotion. I walk as a man whose word shapes his world. I am the builder. I am the fire. I am the silence that moves mountains. I lead. I do not seek. I become. And with that, there is nothing left to ask. Because the man who lives by this code does not chase wealth. He attracts it by being wealth itself. Your energy is the proof. Your posture is the brand. Your habits are your offering. Your results are inevitable. Now go, quietly, deliberately, relentlessly. Let the old self fall. Let the old noise fade. Let the old doubts die quietly in the morning light. You have work to do, not later. Now, build, rule, lead, and walk like a man who never needs to say he's rich, because it's written in his eyes.